18-year-old U.S. skier Mikaela Shiffrin. She's on the slalom course in Bormio, Italy, earlier this month in this tape. Universal Sports announcers Steve Pornimo and Doug Lewis pick up the action near the end of the course.
She is strong, she is fit, and she knows never give up. Mikaela Shiffrin towards the bottom, chasing the time of Holmner, across, and into first. Mikaela Shiffrin gets the win.
And she just keeps winning. And she joins us right now from Reiter Alm, Austria. Mikaela Shiffrin, 18 years old, Olympic alpine skier, current slalom World Cup champion with her recent successes, including a big win in Austria this week. Many people are comparing her to Lindsey Vonn, who, of course, is out of the Sochi Games with an injury. Mikaela Shiffrin is a phenom. Mikaela, thank you so much for joining us from Austria. Congratulations on your most recent win just this week. How did that race go, Mikaela?
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this. That race went well. It was a pretty big margin of a win, and I was just excited to get some of my good skiing on the course, so it was really fun.
Where are you now in the course of training for the Sochi Games? Are you in the groove of actual training or just, in competition and moving toward the date?
Well, we're training quite a bit because we have a little bit of break in races right now, but really part of the biggest training for Sochi is the racing and being able to let your skis go and really compete well during the races versus just training well, because some athletes find it difficult to train well and then race well at the same time. So right now the biggest training and the biggest benefit I'm getting is just racing and trying to get my good skiing out there.
Mikaela, you're 18 years old and headed really for the big dance here. You are so fast and look so loose on the slopes. How do you think about your style?
Well, yeah, I've been working really the past few years on trying to be really loose because ever since I was little, I've always put a lot of emphasis on my technique, so I'm solid on my skis. But the past few years, I've been working on having the good technique, but also letting my skis go and really not holding back at all. So I tend to think of myself as a pretty relaxed skier, but also disciplined with my motions.
What about the politics kind of bubbling around these Olympics, Mikaela? Do you let those come into your mind? Do you think about them? Do you just block all of that out? Issues of dissent and how people can show it in Russia, how Russia looks at these games, security issues, gay rights issues. Are those in the back of your mind as you prepare for the Olympics?
Well, it hasn't been. I mean, we have a pretty small team here, so we're pretty kind of isolated from everything. But obviously, I've seen kind of what's going on, and of course, I'd rather compete somewhere familiar to me. I'd love to race in the United States because it's home, and
sure.
And I feel safe there. But I also know that everybody who goes into organizing the Olympics are all trained to deal with these kind of difficult situations, and I'm just really excited to go race. I mean, I feel going into the Olympics that they have a handle on things, and my job is to go in and ski as fast as I can.
Mikaela Shiffrin, it's great to have you with us from Austria. John Sherva, you follow all this. Here's a young skier who has made a big name for herself in a hurry. How do you look at her in the context of the competition in Sochi, John?
Well, I think there's no doubt that Mikaela is, I think, this Winter Game version of Missy Franklin. Just sort of the up-and-coming...
Wow.
Figure that absolutely. But I do think it's somewhat of an opportunity lost in that because you're in the slalom, it's very late in the competition. I think it's Friday the 21st. And, it would be so much better if the slalom were early. Then you could sort of build on the momentum. So I don't know, Mikaela, do you think that how are you going to handle just basically being there for a very long time waiting for your race to come up at the very end?
Well, you know what? Actually, what we're doing, so I'm racing the giant slalom and slalom, and you're right, they're the last two alpine racing competitions, and they're only, I think, 2 days apart. So what we're going to do is fly into Sochi a little bit later. So we'll spend about, I think, a total of 9 or 10 days there, but we're not going to be there the entire time. So we can utilize a training in Austria before the games.
Michaela, how's it feel to be compared to Missy Franklin, who was such a superstar in the swimming pool, of course, so recently? All Americans remember that. I've read that you've been tweeting with Missy. Has she given you some advice on how to handle the spotlight?
She has been really supportive, and we were tweeting a little bit this summer and kind of going into the season, and I'm very flattered by that comparison because I love the way she handles herself with media and with her sponsors and whatever she's doing. Whenever you hear about Missy, it's always positive, and she's always smiling, and she's 17, 18 years old and working so hard and having success. And I think it's a really good lesson to be learned that she's obviously having a blast, and whatever pressure is on her isn't affecting her because she's winning and she's loving it. And that's kind of the mentality I like to take.
Angela Stent, there are serious security and political issues in Russia. Put yourself in the ski boots, if you can, Angela, of a young 18-year-old terrific athlete. Should all of that be on Michaela's mind or not?
Oh, no. I mean, I think our athletes should go there and they should focus on what they're great at doing, what they've excelled in, and that's competing in in the Winter Olympics. And I think, by the way, there is a special protest zone that's been set aside now by the Russian authorities if people do want to protest. But I think not. I think that the U.S. has done the right thing in terms of who's in the delegation, who's going to lead the delegation to the opening ceremonies. And we've already been through that. That makes a couple of very strong statements, who's not going and who is going. But I think the focus should be on the sports.
Michaela, among Olympic athletes within your little circle there or beyond, is there chatter about this? Are people saying, I want to make some protest at the opening ceremony? Or are your coaches saying, forget about it, just ski, girl?
Most of it, for me, I've really trying to just stay focused on my sport. So most of it's really just, don't worry about it. They're trained to handle this kind of thing. So what your job is to go in, try your best to win a couple medals, and that's that. And that's really the whole point of the Olympics is friendly competition with there's pretty much every country in the world. We all go in and we're all competing for those medals and hoping that it's a story we can tell our grandkids someday. So that's really my vision of the Olympics, is just making it as amazing of an experience as possible. And I do agree that for most of the athletes, there's some athletes out there who want to take a stand one way or the other, but I don't feel that it's my job to do that.
Michaela, you grew up on snow in Colorado and in New England, New Hampshire. What kind of snow are you expecting in Sochi, this odd place, with snowy mountains above the semi-tropical Black Sea?
Yeah, it's a little bit funky there, but I'm really excited to go see really what the conditions are. We were trained there a little bit last year in February, and it was kind of just your average spring conditions, a little bit almost sugary snow, and we had to put salt in the snow to harden it up. But I had some of my best training conditions there out of the entire season last year. So I'm really excited. I think it's going to be fair. I think it's going to be an awesome competition.
18-year-old current slalom World Cup champion, Mikaela Shiffrin, joining us there from Ryder Alm in Austria. Michaela, we wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Good luck. Go get him in Sochi, Michaela. Wow, terrific. And good luck to her.